Hello and welcome to another Spoilercast from Kakuchopurei with some special awesome guests from the Malaysian media. So, hey guys, how's it going, everybody? Are you excited?
Sup?
Nice.
Yep.
So, of
Very-
course,
very
let's just
excited.
start from the top. We've got Tim from GameAxis, we've got Daniel from Gamer Methods, and we got awesome Natasha Tash Bunny from IGN Asia Pacific. So,
Yeah, it's IGN Southeast Asia.
oh my
actually, and I
god,
got-
I'm so
And
sorry.
I got the awesome tag. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
No
Yeah,
worries.
my bad. Yeah. But so I keep thinking it's AP when it's supposed to be Southeast Asia, so I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
mix it up. So apologies in advance because I know I'm gonna flap that up later on. But yeah, so the reason why we all are here is because we have finished a particularly divisive game, to say the least, from Naughty Dog. I believe my three guests have finished it way before I have. I actually got my copy like the legit way because I am very curious about how the game starts and finishes. Now, just a bit of disclaimer for you guys. I was actually one of the few people who saw the leak. I did not say
Oh.
anything about because I was actually spoiled by some people here and there. But that's okay. This is actually my fault for going into this particular forum in the first place because I know it's a landmine. But so it's basically my fault. It's on me, basically. But I did not want to say anything because, again, I know other people who are looking forward to this game, especially. So I just kept my mouth shut until I waited for my reviewer, Alif, who actually gave it a really stellar review, to finish it, give it the footage to me, edit it and everything. So I basically am spoiler proof in that sense already by then. So I just waited for it to come out. I saw the really immature people doing their review bombs because people are butthurt. And I kind of understand and I don't at the same time why they're butthurt about things. So I'm just establishing some context before we start. So before we head on, like, what do you guys think about it before and afterhand? Like, did you have any thoughts about this impending storm that happened within Naughty Dog? And let's also not forget that there was actually some controversy that happened with the company, considering that there were some issues about crunch here and there. So we can start with Daniel first.
I mean, the leaks that was showcased like a month ago, back for literally a month before the game launched. It was very decisive in most part because since people already know what is the twist that happens in the game, basically in the first few hours, and I think like the story that people say that the developers had some had some crunch issues between the development and the launch date kind of makes sense in a way, but then in the end it was actually just was it a security leak if I was not mistaken.
Oh, you guys can
Yeah.
answer, by the way, can chip in.
I think the statement Sony released was that they got like hacked by a third party and they never disclosed like who it was. At first, it was believed that it was like a disgruntled employee that
Yeah.
like leaked all the details. But then like Naughty Dog went back and said like no, it was a third party. So,
Yeah.
I think that was sad. I mean, the leak, because I know a lot of people were actually really excited to play the game. I nearly got spoiled, but I got lucky. I looked away and I'm like, wait. No, I don't want to look at that. So in terms of why people are upset about the game, I think it's because to be fair, we were introduced to a brand new character that we knew nothing about. We were forced to play as her, and we didn't really get a chance to really get to know her. Compared to how Joel and Ellie, they had like a whole game for us to get to know them and like them. So and then I think like what's the best part about the first game after all is the relationship between Ellie and Joel. So when you take that away so early in the game, you didn't even get to experience even a little bit of that. I think that's why people are very upset. I mean, for me, that one got spoiled for me, Joel dying, but I didn't know when. I thought it was gonna be the end or something, so I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that's not too
same.
bad. Yeah, but when I found out it was so early, I was like, wait.
I got spoiled on Joel dying as well. Oh man, which sucked by the way because I took every precaution beforehand. I didn't go and like I installed like this stupid spoiler blocking extension, so it just like blocks every word out if it's The Last of Us related, and I just avoided the internet for like a month before,
Oh my
like
God.
Twitter and stuff on my phone.
That's very
and I was
hard to do, dude.
Yeah,
I know. The only time I went on was for my job, like literally for my job. Other than that, I just avoided everything. And then a week beforehand, I decided to go on Twitter on my phone, and in this an innocent post by PlayStation says that they have a farming simulator for like their next PlayStation Plus game. I think, gee, I wonder how people think about getting farming simulator for free. I click on it, Joel dies. That's it.
Oh no.
Wow,
Oh,
these
yeah.
people, jeez.
That's my fault.
Oh.
Yeah, we will get back to the whole leak matter like later on in the last few questions that we have for this spoiler cast for topics. But yeah, since we brought up the elephant to the golf club in the room, I believe you guys felt pretty hard when that particular scene happened with Joel dying. Oh yeah, spoilers by the way, in case you couldn't tell from the title that on our video called The Last of Us Part 2 Spoiler Cast. Yeah, so with Joel dead, beaten up by Abby, a character you controlled early on in the game as well. Again, how do you guys feel and as well the aftermath? Do you think it was handled well, given the context of the entire game?
I freaking cried, man.
Oh.
That sucked.
Oh yeah, so I mean the weird thing is that I didn't really feel anything about the death other than like the intended feeling of anger. I didn't really feel sadness until Ellie visited Joel's house afterwards,
Oh
and
yeah,
he just
that one.
looked through all
Yeah.
his things, and she like opens the cupboard and like takes out his jacket and smells it. And I was like, "Ah." That was sad. That was sad to me. But getting his head bashed in by a golf club, that was not sad to me. That was
That was-
traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And then his whole leg, like the whole chunk came off, and I was like, wait,
Oh my god.
wait.
Oh.
Oh no.
Knowing that he died beforehand, the moment I started playing as Abby, I didn't know anything about Abby beforehand, but the moment they put me in the shoes of Abby, I knew what was going on.
Oh. I
Yeah,
think, like-
Daniel, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like there was. I think there was. I remember in the first game that you played as Joel's daughter, Sarah, before she died in
Yeah.
the first part. I think it was already like foreshadowing that you did play as Joel in the first act before he died. So it was quite apt actually. Like it's the same thing that happened again, basically.
Except with a beloved character that you bonded with in the first game.
Yeah.
Like, I was sad, of course, but at the same time, that was actually an effective way to get someone like Ose, Ellie to get revenge, which is the whole point of the game, per se. To get to the bottom of this, find justice and all that. Now, since everyone's really sad about that, especially that scene with the house, let's also go to how Ellie controls and plays in the story. Like, what do you guys feel about that? Like, from the start of Seattle, exploring Seattle, and then her getting captured and all the other stuff that happened onwards, per se. Like, were there any highlights that stood out in your mind? We'll start with Natasha first.
Highlights.
Or
I
lowlights,
think,
if you want to call lowlights.
I'm trying to figure out like what to say. For my favorite parts on her, I mean, I think for the whole game, I really like looting. I don't know why it's so
Oh my
stupid.
God,
But
yeah.
I love looting in the game so much, and then I know that people are complaining about exploration, like how it's not as explorative as it should be. It should be bigger or whatever.
Hey, those
but
filing cabinets
man.
are sexy. Don't judge, alright? You just want
Yeah,
to just
but-
find all the scrap you need or the pills.
Yes. But the thing is, it's so fun because like you find a little secret hole and then you figure out like how to get to that secret place and you'd be like, oh my god, I'm such a genius, man. Like it's so rewarding and suddenly you have so much stuff because the last game was so hard to find bullets, right? But this one was pretty hard too, but it wasn't as bad as the last game, I felt. But in terms of Ellie's story, what my favorite part is, I would say my favorite part is the hospital. Is that the 10 hours? That's the 10 hours, right?
This is about 7, 8, 9. This is like
Yeah.
when she finds out the truth, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like that part because of course there's a lot of stuff to go through in the hospital, but I liked Nora's part because it shows a very different part of Ellie.
Oh, Nora's
Like,
part is about 5. I thought you meant the
yeah.
Firefly, like
No,
when
no,
Ellie
no, no.
discovers the truth, like the flashback. Anyway, go on, Nora.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Nora's part was really cool. And then the chase was really cool. And I like how, even though Nora was already dying, she knew how to get it out of her anyway.
Mhm.
That's very interesting because it feels like, Joel and Tommy tell her stories, and she really, really listened and is able to like pick up the bad parts of Joel as well, not just the good.
Oh, especially the killing part. Yeah, so, yeah, Tim and Daniel, you want to chip in?
Just a note on that whole Ellie picking up stuff from Joel, right? Like that's so true because she looked up so much to Joel, and she knew what Joel did, and of course she went on that whole 1 year long journey in The Last of Us with him, so she's picked up like his traits and habits, and it was almost heartwarming in a sickening way when she tried much later on in the game when she tried to do the whole interrogate one person with the map with Mel and Owen, and then like get the other person to say the same thing, but it just goes horribly wrong.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And I feel like it's just a great way to just sum up like the central thrust of like the Last of Us 2 story, right? Which is that Ellie is going on this journey trying to do very Joel-like things, but she is not Joel, and she's not capable of being Joel. Unlike Joel, who at a point in his life when he was doing all those things was old and grizzled and had lost a daughter and had gone through so much and was capable of doing all these things. No, I think that's the central thrust of the story, right? Like that's what the story is trying to nail into. Like when Ellie kills Nora, she goes back to the theater and just sobs. When she kills Mel, she does the same thing. I'm fairly sure if Joel found himself in that position, trying to take revenge for Ellie's death, he would not have paused, he would not have hesitated. And that's kind of the point, right? It's not the main point of the story, it's one of the points of the story is that Ellie is not capable of doing what Joel is capable of doing. But she looks up to him so much, and she tries to incorporate parts of him in what she is trying to do, but she fails because she can't. She's not him.
Alright. That part itself was also like, yep, okay, this Ellie is kind of basically just very single-minded with the revenge thing here and there. Oh, and Daniel, maybe you like to bring up what your favorite parts are?
I think like her whole revenge arc, like the first part, not the second part, where during the epilogue, but we'll get later. I think like the first arc of her revenge plot is very cool, very interesting to see because like, as we see in the first game and the DLC, basically, what DLC was it called? Left Behind.
Oh,
if
Left
I'm not
Behind,
mistaken.
yes, Left Behind.
We know that Ellie is like this very one track mind girl. Like if she wants to do something, she will literally focus on that alone, so that she doesn't understand like. I think the word is like she doesn't understand that there's other paths that she can take, but no, she only takes like one, and we can see that basically unraveling as the days goes on, which is pretty sad for Ellie, but in the story sense, it's actually quite interesting.
So you're saying that she actually stays in character from when she was super young in Left Behind all the way to now when she's 19 years old?
Yes, and like I think like when during the flashback we saw like Ellie, finding out the real truth about the vaccine and all. Like she was very mad at Joel because of that, and then the subsequent days that we know that she tries to bond together doesn't really happen. So I think like Naughty Dog tried a very interesting way to tell a story with Ellie, which I think I like it.
I don't know if I'm a fan of how everything. I mean, I'm cool with the way they cut it and then they save that particular scene with Joel and Ellie at the end, when they kind of make up after all that lost time, after that Firefly truth reveal incident. But I don't know, like the way I see it, I think the bits I remember the most are the ones that are kind of not really essential to the main story, but it's more like just fleshing out the characters and like where they're just relaxing. Like the flashback itself, since we're talking about flashbacks, the day at the museum was actually my favorite part of
I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
part.
So good. So good.
that.
That
Natasha
made me
agrees as well
cry.
too. Yeah, yeah. Like having her putting hats on different on the different dinosaurs
It's
and
a hatasaur.
yeah. Or that part when you start off at Seattle, there's like a bit of an open-endedness to it. Like there are some scenes you can actually miss. And then when you find the music store, you actually find a guitar, and then Ellie plays a song for Dina,
Dina.
yes, I was saying Diana, Dina, her lover, basically, her
Yeah.
lover, yeah. So that worked out pretty well, because like even though it's like they're trying to build something, and then I know they're going to pull the carpet away from under us, which is what actually happened later on, which we'll get to. And yeah, so now since we discussed a bit about what Ellie is, like how you guys see her, like from what she was to what she's turning into as like a single-minded killer. Now let's also bring up the other secondary character we can talk about, Abby. So how do you guys feel? Oh, okay, I can see here something. Well, okay, then we'll save Natasha's opinions for last. So maybe Tim, maybe you want to bring up like what are your thoughts when you actually switch, like when you have like the last few like the second half of the game all focused on Abby. Like what were your thoughts?
You know how in Red Dead Redemption 2, you're playing as Arthur and it's a really good story all the way through until you hit Guarma. Yeah, so I was concerned that this was the Guarma moment of the game where
I can see the similarities there. Yes, I can see the similarities.
Because you hit such an interesting point in the story where Ellie and Abby finally have their face off, and then you cut away to Abby like 3 days prior, and then you make her play the entire 3 days leading up to the event for like the next I want to say 10 hours or so, which is a gutsy move to say the least. And I did not like it at the start because I felt like Abby as a character didn't have much heart to her, didn't have much that was interesting about her other than the fact that she had a community, she had friends. But the moment she hit the Seraphites and she picked up Lev and Yara, I was infinitely more invested in the storyline. I loved her storyline from that moment onwards. If not only for Lev and Yara, I really liked her at the end of the day. Like I see why she's in the game.
Okay. I do feel that at that point in the story when they met the Scars, like when Yara and Lev are helping out Abby, that was like that arc where Abby, after she's done her dirty deed with the golf club, that would be her, I guess, her Joel redemption arc. And from a gameplay perspective, I think you guys can agree that because of the way she has to create shivs, unlike Ellie who has unlimited shivs, like she basically plays like Joel, except probably hardier. So maybe what are your thoughts about that, Daniel and Natasha?
Daniel first.
All right, like I guess like in a way like basically Abby is our version of Joel since he has to do all these things. But if you look at it in the broader perspective, Abby's story is basically Joel, reverse basically, because if you see like after she killed Joel in the first act, and then when we come to her act in like day one Seattle, you can see that her band of crew that went to Jacksonville in the early part is now a completely disarray because they know that was a bad idea. So in a way, this part of for Abby, I guess, like saving Yara and Lev is basically her way of trying to make things right after what she and her group had did in the first act, basically. And I'm pretty sure that I think had Naughty Dog not put in Yara and Lev inside the game, I don't think Abby would be a good character as she is.
Actually, interesting you brought up that point, you and Tim. Like, there is this whole point where, because the WLF, is that correct? WLF,
The wolves.
I just call it wolves.
Yes. The wolves, they are, I guess you could say they're killers, especially when they're led by that guy, Isaac. I mean, he doesn't need a backstory for us to know that, yeah, this guy is kind of means business with his army.
You
Like,
can just listen to the conversations around to kind of know already.
yeah, the
who he
little
is.
the letters and everything as well too. The
Yeah,
WLF.
all the letters, they built up to him so much throughout the game.
Yeah. And the fact that this is basically Abby trying to find her humanity by helping Yara and Lev, because they're both enemies from different enemy factions, but she wants to help the two kids, and then the kids also end up helping her in return. So Natasha, maybe you want to bring that point home. That do you feel the same? That's that Joel's standpoint right there. Like she's just trying to humanize herself after what she did.
I actually agree. I actually thought at first that the parallels that they were talking about was Ellie and Joel, but the more I played it, and of course someone pointed it out to me, and I realized, dang, it's actually the parallels is Abby and Joel, which is really interesting. As you guys said earlier, Abby was not interesting character, or it's weird because I don't like her at all, even after Lev and Yara.
Okay.
But the thing is, I like their relationship. I like how they are. It's kind of like seeing an Ellie and Joel again, kind of, you want to say it that way. Because at first it's like they hate each other, but they ended up, just bonding. And that bonding part, I think Naughty Dog really knows how to create bonds for their characters. And I really, really enjoy seeing that. But, and then also when Yara died, out of the blue, I actually felt really upset about it. I think the first thing went to my mind was, dang, we went through all that trouble to go through that hospital, kill that stupid big fat thing, and then she went through stupid surgery, and now she's dead?
Well,
What?
not for a bad reason per se. I mean, she died killing off the leader, and then we knew that it ends up dead in the end.
Yeah.
And there was that whole side bit which I felt was a bit rushed. I'll have to be honest. Like, Lev is sad that he wants to make up with his mom, so he took a boat out.
Yeah, that one was a bit silly. It felt like they just wanted a reason to just bring us there. It would be cooler if, in my opinion, they heard that the wolves were coming and then they rushed there to save their mom. That one I can actually feel
Yeah,
it
that
fits better.
feels much better than
Yeah,
the
it
I
feels
mean, the
much
wolves
better.
are planning to
Yeah.
attack, but at the same time, the way that it actually panned out could have been better, honestly. And
Yeah.
maybe you guys can agree with me here, like, or not. Like, I felt that as much as I like the story, like, you guys bring up really good points about the story, but at the end of the day, we're still kind of reviewing a game. And in terms of like gameplay wise, how do you feel about Abby, how she controls? I mean, I did mention that again she plays like Joel, but is that more or less an upgrade of how The Last of Us should be as a game, or do you think it's like a downgrade, or it's like maintaining the status quo from since the first game?
Who wants to go first?
I think I'll go first then.
All right, go Daniel, go.
So I guess like when compared to the first game, gameplay wise, it's much far better. I mean, there's more movement controls, more ways to take down the enemy and all. But the story beats, even though it is flawed, but it is still carries the emotional weight of the first game, be it in a different way of storytelling. If I feel like it, because the fact that because it is just a straight on full revenge plot basically, but there are some side tracks here and there. I think that makes it quite different, but it still for me it pales in comparison with the first game because it is a different type of story. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I actually agree. I prefer the first story better because the first story, even though it was like a cliffhanger, it was still somewhat of a happy ending, if you wanted to say. So I mean, I'm a sucker for happy endings. Not happy endings like it was like they're happy, whatever. But Ellie survived, and we get to see more of two of them. That made me happy. But then for The Last of Us Part 2, I feel like there was no happy part. Like when you think you reach the end, it continues. When you think you finally have a happy ending, and it's the ending that Ellie deserves, it goes on. And I was just so tired playing that, and I think that was the point. Because they want you to feel frustrated. They want you to feel tired because that's what an apocalypse is. That's what a revenge plot is. It's tiring. It's mentally taxing. And there are some parts where I just want to slam down my controller and say, WTF is this? I'm so tired. I don't want to play this anymore. Come on, man. I think can I just say this? The part where they make us walk as Abby to Ellie to beat the crap out of her. I was like, who the F would make us do this? What is wrong with you? I don't want to hurt my favorite baby. Why would you make me do this?
when she started crafting all the tripwire bombs, I mean the what do you call those things? The bombs that you put on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
proximity
mines.
bombs.
Yeah, the trip mines.
When she
Yeah.
started putting those down, I definitely wanted to kill her. It's so annoying.
I walked on that and I was just like, excuse me? Confused Pikachu face?
I love how like that one boss fight. As much as it paid me to play through it, you're finally on the other end of people like Ellie and Joel. Like Abby's just like sitting, just peeking out from behind like a shelf or something, and she can see Abby like rummage through a backpack and create a bomb. And Abby goes like, "What the hell is she doing?"
Yeah, that was cool.
I don't think she's gonna. She's not gonna search her bag and give Abby candy, right? So
Nah.
I actually, in the sense, I kind of wish we got to that climax sooner because, like I mentioned before, that bit with the island and that bit where you follow left to get the medicine for Yara could have been trimmed a little shorter for me, lah.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
way
it
too long.
definitely could be
It
cheap.
got a little draggy. Okay, at least you guys agree with me. I thought we're. I mean, I don't mind a fight, but at the same time, okay. you agree with
No,
me,
I
that's
think
cool.
Abby's part was way too long in my opinion. And on top of that, when I first started Abby's part, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get through this part fast. I don't care about Abby, you know. And I didn't bother looting or something. And the more I played after 3, I was like, this is a long one, isn't it? God dang
And
it!
it was.
I
Yeah.
didn't loot.
Like, okay, we're gonna go to a mall part section to the top of this broken down building. Yeah, we're gonna fight a bunch of bloaters and clickers. Yes, we get it. Abby's strong. She can fight 2 bloaters at the same time. You don't have to do the same stage twice or 3 times. And yes,
Yeah.
she's strong. She can take over like she can fight a super giant rat king bloater thing. We get that. We don't need that, you know. But at the same, and yet here we are, lah. It's just sad that we actually took so long to get to that part. But okay lah, that's that's so you guys actually are fine with the story. You're just not so much happy with Abby's gameplay lah.
Yeah. Okay, go on. Sorry.
Go
Yeah,
on,
sorry.
Daniel, go on.
I think like if the flashback were like placed together better for both Abby and Ellie, I think it will probably make the story flow better because like in Abby's playthrough, like you can see like we started off with her and then we see like a flashback of her with Owen specifically, which is like which at that point at time like I don't care about you guys. You guys just killed my favorite character and then now you're just gonna show them bonding together at a ship, like come on.
Yeah.
Actually, Daniel, I kind of slightly disagree because I kind of want to see from the villain's perspective, like how is she a terrible human being or is she just like Ellie except a different side of the coin? Because we did see her dad getting shot down by Joel because of that whole hospital incident, which is the ending to the first game. And to see that being explored, especially when she gained her humanity after being buffed in the army, despite the fact that she has Popeye arms, I'm actually alright with how that develops because I see what Naughty Dog is doing with the whole... We want to see the perspective of another character, despite the fact that it's sure Ellie's story, but I believe Naughty Dog wants to do it this way because they want to show that yeah, one bad day can lead someone to do this, and then is there any place for like forgiveness? But because at the end of the day, I think Naughty Dog is trying to say that Joel is not a good person when you think about
I
it.
mean, that was actually reiterated a lot throughout the game. Joel is not a good person. We
Yeah,
never
yeah.
really
Yeah, we
got to
know
explore
that.
in the game. I mean, it was mentioned, but it was never really shown. So in this one, they kind of showed the other side. And also, what's really interesting, it showed like, you know, how everyone is just in the apocalypse. Everyone is just trying to live. There's no good versus bad. There's just different perspectives versus another different perspective. Just because they are, you know, going against what you want doesn't mean they're a bad person, which I found was very interesting, you know? Everyone's just trying to live.
I think if you take it in the context of the first game, yeah, you've seen Joel acting cold to Ellie, and then in that sliver of moment, he ends up killing all the Firefly because, yeah, he wants whatever he wanted with Sarah so many years back. So,
Yeah.
but then, again, if you see it from another perspective, especially through Abby's perspective, and the Firefly's perspective, that's just selfish on the smugglers' part. So in a way, it's good that this game actually get the emotions it need, especially with the hate, as we've seen on forums and on the review scores from Metacritic. But at the same time, I have to agree with you guys, especially when you reinforce my point that Abby's section could be a little shorter because, again, when you're using that whole Joel archetype storyline, especially with different characters, you can put the pieces in together and then you don't need to actually have that same length like what they did with The Last of Us. Like, again, shorter length lah, per se.
Or that, or have a DLC, I guess. I just, honestly, it's not I don't care about Abby, I do. It's, I don't know, I guess I was just tired at that point. I didn't want to continue. And then we went back to Ellie after Abby, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remembered I was just like, really, I don't want to do this. I remembered like I stopped sneaking. I was just like ramboing people, just punching. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to get through it at that point. I was just tired.
I think in a way, that's why Abby was built that way. Like, as a person who can sort of ramble her way through like clickers and bloaters. Because I think, I'm not saying that they anticipate this. Probably not. I'm giving them way too much credit. No, I'm not. But I think that's the reason why she's kind of not slightly OP. She's built that way because if you want to just power through and just get to Ellie's part, yeah, you got an option to do that.
Yeah.
So maybe they thought of that and maybe not, or by accident. Who knows? But maybe, what do you guys think on that? Do you think it was done purposefully or it was by accident?
I can't tell. I want to hear what you guys think.
Because-
The fact that Abby is more powerful, is it?
In a way, in a sense, yes.
It kind of makes sense for her to be more powerful, right? Like she's a tank, and so I think that you could have played as Ellie all the way through the game, but it wouldn't make sense for her to have a Joel level arsenal. Like The Last of Us 1, Joel had a flamethrower, he had a shotgun, he had a revolver, he had a pistol, he had this and that and this and that, and he picked up an assault rifle at the end of the game. It's insane. He's basically a walking like army at that point. But if you're going to do a horror survival game, that doesn't really work, right? Especially as Ellie. Ellie is not as built up as Abby is, and she obviously that rat king would have killed her 100%.
Yeah.
Like that. So I think I'm not sure which came first. I'm not sure if Naughty Dog looked at the game and thought we need more diverse gameplay, so we need 2 playable characters, or they looked at the story and decided we need 2 playable characters because of the story, so we're going to split up the gameplay a bit, because there was a very clear divide in the game where you get like a whole lot of Joel weapons for Abby. Like Abby gets the flamethrower, Abby gets this and that, and Abby gets the shivs and stuff. And yeah, I'm not sure which came first, but it was very smart of them to divide the weaponry between them to make playing as both of them very unique
Very
experience.
different, yeah.
Actually, you brought out a very good point because, like you said, it wouldn't make sense for Ellie to have a flamethrower or an assault rifle compared to Abby, who obviously comes from the Wolf, who would have a lot of these guns anyway.
She probably would have training with them as well.
Yeah.
That's like 4 years. Correct, right? 4 years from that
Yeah, 4
flashback
years.
where her dad was killed. Okay, yeah, I don't know if I don't know if she can actually get buff like that, but obviously the training is there. So okay, now let's get to gameplay. Like I mentioned before, I did feel that this could be like a step down for me, but I'd like to hear your thoughts about like how the survival gameplay was for you. Like, let's just, the story is great and all. We discussed that like for the past 30 minutes or so. But let's just focus on how it plays on. Like, we've already talked about Ellie's playstyle a bit. We talked about Abby's playstyle a bit. How about the level structure or like the arenas you fight in when you have the dogs coming in? Or like the Rat King fight per se? All the way when you're fighting with the Rattlers, like the last minute enemies at the end. Like, what do you guys think about that? We'll go with Daniel first.
I think it's much more better because the arenas now are more, all flowing, very more like open ended. Like in one scene, I think after you escape from the hotel, there is a pack of wolves, guarding the place, so you can just either go guns out or slowly sneak away with Dina in the tree so that you don't get caught, which makes like they did think of a way to freshen up the combat basically, because in the first game it was just cover, just wait and then kill them, but this time you can just maybe you can attack them silently And then when you get caught, okay, then you can use the terrain that to your advantage, like hide them and then kill, like stealthily or violently, depending on my mood at that time. So it is a much better game, for gameplay wise, like gameplay feel and all.
Okay. Tim, you want to add in like your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm currently on my third playthrough of the game, right?
Wow.
Oh man, you gave
I
us.
was not in
Holy
mine.
crap.
Second.
My first playthrough is on medium, and medium is so easy. It's just way too easy
Yeah.
for me. They bombard you with supplies. They bombard you with ammo to the point where it doesn't really feel like a survival game.
Yeah.
You can run into a shambler and just stand in the acid for a while. It's just fine. You'll survive for quite a bit. After that, I was so unsatisfied by the difficulty, so I replayed it with Survivor Plus, and it's a whole different experience. And now I see why it was divided like that. It's medium allows you to stealth through levels if you want, and then if you get spotted, you can easily turn that into a John Wick style level. You can
Yep.
just ramble your way
Basically,
through.
my playstyle.
You can do that. You have the choice to do that in medium because they give you enough ammo to do that. And then on hard, it's more of a toss up. You have to conserve some ammo. And then on survivor, it's just you have to stealth all the way through. You can maybe only one level every hour you can spend your bullets. It's that like difficult. And I really appreciate that. Like I really appreciate that freedom of choice and the accessibility levels as well, where you can like individually adjust how much resources there in the world, how active your player AI and stuff is. But as overall as a game, it's much better than The Last of Us. Like I'm aware that the first game got a lot of criticism because of its gameplay in particular, and a lot of praise for its story. But I was always one of those crazy people who loved The Last of Us's gameplay, and I loved going around and collecting notes and everything. And this game delivered on that on spades. I can't think of a single mechanic that this game ended that I didn't enjoy or thought was an immense upgrade over its predecessor, other than the jump button, which is pretty useless.
Yeah, I don't know why that was put there in the first place, and I don't know why Naughty Dog with their promos hyped it up for some reason in their ads. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
stop
going
it with the
through
press.
is so
Stop.
much for it.
Yeah.
Personally, I like that they continued what they had in Last of Us Part 1, but enhanced it. I like the dodging. I like how you can react by jumping from like ropes or the sides, just kill people, kind of like, like Jedi Fallen Order. That's kind of cool.
Right.
That was really fun. The first playthrough I did was for my review, so there were some parts I had to rush through. So a lot of parts I actually ended up just stealthing through, and that was fine. I disagree with Tim about medium being easy, because I died so many times. The normal average person plays the game for about 25 hours
Yeah.
or so.
It's 25
25.
hours ish. Yeah.
Yeah,
finished it in
I think
23
almost
hours.
28 hours. That 3 hours was the freaking death. Was me dying over and over again. And me just, where's the ammo? Because I got panicked and I got spotted or something. Everyone complained about the dogs. I hate going against dogs, but I liked how they work because they do what a dog's supposed to do. They're supposed to sneak you out and kill you.
Yeah.
But the upside is killing the dogs are easy, so you just kill them and then you can just go to the human, or you can just kill the human. The dog is confused, and then you can kill the dog after. That's fine.
I do that a lot. I kill the human first, and then I just let the dog, get confused, and then I
Cry.
kill it later
Yeah.
if it hunts me down. No, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. I did see like a trailer or two of this game before the game came out, like in the store shelves. And then when I knew there was a segment, when the WLF introduced the dog for the first time, wouldn't you know it, my trip mine, I had 3 of these trip mines. So the first thing I did was put a trip mine at the door, at the part where I knew the dog was going to leap. So when the dog jumped in, boom, that's it. So that was my
my
point.
god.
Because I knew the dog was going to do that. So I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
I
are you stupid enough to do
purposely
that?
watched.
Yes. Okay.
I didn't watch the trailer for that because I didn't want to get spoiled. But yeah,
No, this was like the gameplay trailer. I think this was an official Sony thing. They showed some
yeah, I
gameplay
know.
on there.
I know people were watching it, but I was like, no, I don't want to watch anything because I want to go in blind.
Because I thought they were not going to do the same thing. I thought they were going to have a different pathfinding set for the dog. But nope, the dog took the
Yeah,
same
it's
route.
the same,
So I put the
yeah.
trip mine over there, and yes, it exploded in its face because it took the same route where it's going to attack you the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
So, I agree with Tim that yes, I had way too much ammo and a lot of scrap that I kind of wished, in retrospect, I played it on a slightly harder difficulty. Because I don't want to play this game again. I'm not a super fan or someone who likes The Last of Us like Tim does. I was like, okay, I'm tired of the story. I'm kind of tired with it. Like, it's a good, well-told story. I mean, for a revenge plot for video games. But for a game itself, if it actually gives me this first impression as a default difficulty, I don't know if I want to do this again. I guess I could compare this to a tougher game like Resident Evil 2 Remake, or if you want, maybe bring up the first two Evil Withins, which are, I would have to admit, they were designed pretty well for what they were.
Yeah.
And then playing Last of Us, I wanted a survival horror experience. I got more of a story-based action adventure experience, not so much a survival horror game. Although the Rat King is kind of scary looking, but that only happens like what, 19 hours in, I guess?
Almost to the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. And I have to admit, the hotel segment was kind of cool with Abby. The one where you're going down and then you've got...
Oh, yeah, the
That was
bucks.
terrifying.
Yeah,
That
it was,
so
it was.
scary. But I just feel like I just wish that we got more, not combat per se. I wish there was more combat because there were a lot of people saying that there was just so much combat. It felt useless. I felt like I was doing more combat in the first one, or maybe because it's a smaller map, so the enemies are closer together. I can't tell, but it feels like a lot of places are more empty than with runners or anything. So that's just me though.
Did you play mostly stealth, Natasha? Or...
For Ellie, yes, stealth. But I would try the stealth, but I always end up being spotted.
Right.
So that sucks. I think another thing that I kind of disliked as well was like after you killed everyone, the music changes, or they say, okay, that's it, done. So there's no. It feels like, okay, no more scary part. Can run around now,
Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of wish that they didn't have that, so it kind of leaves me wondering, so I can actually feel like I'm playing in a horror kind of setting where you're supposed to be on guard.
I mean, there was one survival horror thing that got to me lah. I mean, the horse died, so I got sad when that happened.
I was sad, but they didn't
Oh
say
my
anything
God.
about it. For Shimmer her name, yeah, for Shimmer, a horse that's been with her for so many years, and she didn't say anything about her death.
I think she's just shell-shocked that it died. Like that. I mean, that was probably like the one thing that made me want, okay, I'm going to play this game more and see what happens. I think, like, when the horse buys it, like, okay, yeah, I think Naughty Dog is really just hammering home the feels. But in the gameplay perspective, yeah, I guess we're going to take the linear route now that my mode of transportation is dead. So...
Yeah, I wish it was multiple endings too for the game. That would be really cool. We can kind of choose what Ellie would be like. Would she end as a killer? Would she end as
You mean with the Abby fight?
Yeah.
the last fight.
Yeah,
Right.
I wish we can do that because it was so interesting, that part, because even though I don't like Abby, even though at first I'm like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of Abby, and that part I was like, no, Abby, you're better than this. I found myself to say that a lot, like, please don't do this, and then she didn't, and yeah, that made me sad, but it was a good feeling at the same time.
I guess so. I'm gonna... Actually, I did discuss this with my Kakuchopurei guys about, like, should there be a multiple ending? And some of them did say yes. They kind of wish they actually had an option to make a choice, like have Ellie be this way or have Ellie be a worse character than before, like worse than Joel. I felt that because of how the first game ended, where it's like Naughty Dog told this story, they went this path, the linear storytelling route. I don't think they're gonna have a non-linear route with the ending. So the fact that it ended where Ellie just gave peace to Abby and let her run off with Lev at the end, that actually made sense because that was how Naughty Dog did their stories. They did this with Uncharted. They did it with the first Last of Us. I mean, it would be nice if they actually break away from formula, but this is like their bread and butter to tell their point of view of how revenge should be done, or how love and hate can be at that same side or different sides of the same coin. I mean, do you guys agree with that or not?
I mean, imagine if they sold a DLC like, hey, pay $20 for a good ending.
Oh, that's like Capcom's model back in like 2010 or so. Ugh.
Oh no.
That would go down well today.
Yeah. Tim, Daniel, what do you think? Like, would it have benefited from a multiple ending, or do you think Naughty Dog should have stuck with this storytelling?
Who,
I mean-
I
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Sure. So I thought there was, because during the part where Nora, where you get to kill Nora, there was like one section there you can press X to kill her. I was like, if I waited 10 minutes, will she not kill her? But there was a
I thought so
button
too. Yes. I thought that was gonna happen, where she's gonna just walk away, but nope. That is what Naughty Dog wanted you to do as a story, from a storytelling gameplay perspective.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting too, because there are parts where I didn't want to do it, but you have to do it.
Mhm.
That sucked.
So
I think-
the fact that it's not gonna have a multiple ending was already set in stone when that bit happened with Nora. But Tim, sorry, you were saying? Yes.
No, I think it's kind of their, like you said, it's their bread and butter. They choose to have playable movies rather than let games be the traditionally interactive media that they are. Of course, in video games, in The Last of Us Part 2, you have a lot of video game things. You do a lot of things. You don't choose, like you don't get to choose where the story goes, which I don't think is a bad thing. I really think that if they added another ending where Ellie goes and kills Abby, I think it would have, personally, I think it would have flown in the face of what the story was, and it would have been a weaker ending. But I mean, if they put the ending in, it wouldn't have made me go, oh, worst game. I don't like this game anymore. You know, it's an addition. I wouldn't have felt anything for it, but if they put it in, that would have been fine.
Now that you've already talked about how it was told from Ellie and Abby's side, do you think that the whole different timeline narrative actually worked to the game's favor or not? Or do you think they could have improved upon it? We'll start with you, Tim, since you ended the last part.
Okay, actually, I find it interesting that you guys see Abby as the Joel, like Joel's story retold in this game, like in a different way. Personally, I don't see it that way. I see Abby and Ellie going through the exact same journey, but Abby's just one step ahead of her. Like, both of them had their father figures killed. Obviously, one of them killed the other, but Abby's dad was killed by Joel, so she goes after revenge and kills Joel, and then Ellie goes after Abby for revenge, and that's it. Like, that's the cycle of violence or whatever. But the parallels go deeper than that, right?
Okay.
Abby has already accomplished what she was trying to do. She has already killed the person she wanted to kill. Ellie is still trying to do that, and I think the alternating where the game cuts you off in the middle and makes you play as Abby, I think that was, in hindsight, although I was angry at it at first, it's kind of an inspired choice, because you play as Abby up to the point of almost killing Abby, and then the game switches around and shows you what would have happened if Ellie had actually killed who she wanted to kill. You see Abby after she's already accomplished a journey. She went on this whole journey that we were not privy to. We didn't get to see that. But she went on this whole Seattle Ellie day 1, day 2, day 3 like journey all the way up to Joel, and she killed him. And we didn't get to see that. But we see what happens after. We see Abby struggling with the fact that she's done this. Obviously, it's not like said. It's subtext to me, but she hooks onto Lev and Yara as a way to redeem herself. She wakes up at night after like getting a nightmare of her dad dying, and she hooks onto Yara and Lev as a way of like, I did a terrible thing. Those nightmares aren't going away. I have to make it right somehow. So she goes and saves Lara and Yev, destroys her entire life in the process, loses all her friends, makes it up to the end of the game, and eventually saves Yara and Lev. Then you have the flip side of the coin. You have Ellie, who has all these dreams, nightmares of Joel. She goes to fight Abby, then she goes to the farm. Then she has the PTSD in the farm. She has this nightmare about Joel.
Yeah.
She interprets this as I need to kill Abby to be okay.
To get closure, basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
I need closure. I need to kill Abby. Obviously, this is not right because we've seen that Abby still gets the nightmares after killing Joel. Those don't go away. You don't fix that by killing people. So then Ellie goes all the way up to killing Abby, and she stops. And I think that's the exact point Abby and Ellie's journeys differ. They just go in separate routes. Abby did what she did, and she has to live with that. And she eventually found redemption, sort of, in Love and Yara. She eventually got a happy ending. Ellie lost, unhooked herself from Dina in the pursuit of this revenge. She tries to kill Abby. She tries to choke her in the water. Then she gets a flashback to Joel on the porch. And she makes that decision. She comes to that realization that Abby never came to. She realizes that this is not going to make things okay. I can kill Abby today, but I will still have nightmares tomorrow. And then she chooses to leave her alone because, again, Ellie is not Joel. If she had killed Abby, Lev would have died there. I don't think she's going to be responsible for the murder of like another child, even by a third party. So then she goes back and Dina has gone away. Just like how Abby lost all of Red. Ellie has also like pretty much just cut everyone off her life. She's lost JJ. She's lost the baby's name was JJ.
Yeah,
Right?
JJ.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, JJ.
She's lost JJ. She's lost Dina, but she made a different choice than Abby, and I think that's really cool. It really is like what you're saying. It's two sides of the same coin. But I like that they didn't go on the exact same journey. I like that Ellie diverted at the last second and didn't kill Abby.
Mhm.
If she had killed Abby, it would have been the same thing. The story would have had no meaning to me whatsoever. I would have not liked it as much. But she didn't do it, and there's something more meaningful than in there to me.
I also have to add to your really good description of that whole farmstead was like the best fake ending ever. Like, you know, like, oh, we thought we were gonna have an happy ending. I thought that was it, but no, obviously not.
No, I will just pretend that the game ended there. I'll just pretend it ended
Yeah,
there.
yeah. But it is actually true that the character herself, Ellie, is not going to sleep off all those nightmares and everything. So, the fact that she actually ended on that note where she spared Abby's life, a lot of people might be angry at that, but at the same time, from a storytelling perspective, that actually works. Because revenge tales, you either go one route and become the villain, or you become the good guy, a repentant guy, and not follow through your deed despite the misdeeds that happen. I believe Ellie picked that point, but at the price of losing Dina and JJ.
I think also another thing that was highlighted a lot in the game is guilt. Like for Ellie personally, I think the guilt comes from how she hadn't been taught. Well, they didn't really delve into this that much. I wish they did. It was a time where she didn't talk to Joel for a very long time after she found out the truth, right? I think it was 3 years?
I think it was 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah. So they didn't really tell us fully what happened in the 2 years. Like, did they really just ignore each other, or was the time when they were about to make up the night before? The night where they had coffee on the porch. Was that the night after Joel died or something? That was Joel. Sorry, did Joel die the day after that? Because they were supposed to have a movie that night. So I feel like Ellie's maybe revenge feeling is from guilt as well, because she felt like she lost so much time with Joel and now he's gone. What do you guys think about that?
Actually, that is a good point to bring up, because that 1 year and then end up with Joel dead, yes, that will be the guilt building up per se. That's why she's so single-minded, and the friends who join her, like Dina and
Jesse.
Jesse, thank you. I was gonna say Discount Glenn, but yeah, Jesse and Tommy joining in the fray. It's like, yeah, we're bringing her friends along, but she's just reckless in that sense, because tales of revenge always end up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I feel like everyone who I mean, I'm not discounting anyone's opinions whatsoever, but anyone who calls The Last of Us Part 2 a revenge story true and like gets mad at it for being that, I feel like it's not that to me so much as it is a tragedy. Like when I think about like Ellie and Joel's relationship and how that like the game slowly peels that relationship up over the course of the game to tell you like at the start with the museum, oh, Ellie and Joel were okay,
Yeah.
and then at the hospital, oh no, Ellie and Joel aren't okay, and then the whole party where she yells at him, and then the porch, and the fact that they were just going to be okay again the very next day he dies,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the fact that he went out on patrol and he was stupid enough to get killed in the way that he did, because the Joel of The Last of Us one would never have fallen for that, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
the sized Joel of like Jackson would have fallen for that. And he what really gets to me is the fact that he didn't know that Ellie was going to be there, and he dies looking at Ellie and looking at the WLF around Ellie, and he just was not able to protect her or do anything, and to him he doesn't know. Like he died not knowing what would happen to Ellie, which gets to me, man.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think
I
about
don't
it
know.
that
I
way.
think being a sort of like person who still wants a daughter would probably soften up your defenses a little bit over the past 4 years.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's probably my justification. It's pretty weak, but I think that's why.
I don't think it's weak. I actually agree with it. If you go around Joel's house, you get to see things that he picked up to make Ellie happy, like the book
Yeah.
about space, or he
Yes,
was making
yes.
Perhaps,
guitars for
perhaps.
her.
Mm.
So, I feel like he lowered his guard because he's finally in a community, a safe area where he doesn't have to be that person anymore.
Yeah, pre Ellie, Joel would probably killed Abby on the spot or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see a lot of like criticism about that online, like that Joel wouldn't have fallen for that, and
Out
to me,
of
like,
character, they say.
yeah, and to me, no, it's not. You don't know this Joel anymore. This Joel has gotten comfortable. He's peaceful. He was with his brother Tommy on patrol.
Yeah.
He had someone with him. So like, when he was in the room, he was looking at everyone, and he didn't suspect Abby at all. I actually watched this interview with Neil Druckmann where he actually talks about this. Joel goes into the room and he's sizing everyone up. The last person he suspects is the girl he just saved.
Ah,
He
right.
is the
Yeah,
same with
exactly.
Ellie, and that's the girl who attacks him. If anyone in that room had attacked him, he would have gotten the jump on them. But no, he was not suspecting Abby.
All right. That's a very good point you have actually brought up. Yeah. Now, let's try to tie this up now. Like since we've talked quite a bit, like now from the gameplay and from a storytelling perspective, do you think this game really deserves its like full marks, 10 out of 10, masterpiece of the year 2020 quotes and tweets from different journalists here and there?
No.
Okay, there you go. All
Hard
right.
no.
It's a no from me, dog. I mean, it
Yep.
was a 10 out of 10 for Ellie's story for me, but then during the parts it got draggy, the score just slowly went down for me because it got very exhausting to finish the game. I feel like a game should not make you feel that way. I think that was what they wanted to do, but personally, I don't want to play a game that feels draggy.
Yeah, for me, like the entirety of the epilogue just bottles the marks for me. Since my website, I give it a 7 out of 10.
Yep, you did.
So it's because of the dragginess that is the epilogue makes it like, we're already tired and we have to play another epilogue. So it's just very, if it's probably at that time it's probably bothersome and all. So like had they like compress it more, I think it would be better.
Like shave off like another 5 or 6 hours off and
Yeah.
fine game. Tim, maybe you like to elucidate whether it deserves
Uh,
a full score or not.
No, I totally see how this is certainly not like a game for everyone. I think your mileage will heavily vary when it comes to playing this game. I think even if I were to like, so I gave the game a 9.5. So I guess I would be biased in saying like, yes, I think it does deserve all those review scores. But I totally see how your mileage might vary. If I were to recommend this game to other people, I would do so with warnings. I would say like, oh, this game is super violent. This game is really dark and depressing. It might not be the game for you. And I'm not saying like, oh, people who don't like depressing stories won't like this. No. Like, I'm not looking down on anyone's taste whatsoever. I just think that it's a divisive game for a reason. In the same way that, although I hated Death Stranding is kind of divisive for the same reason as well. It just
Perhaps,
depends.
yeah, that is true.
what you're looking for in a game, right? To me, I had problems with The Last of Us 2 as well. I had problems with its pacing. I feel like the story didn't connect to me as well as the first games did. I vastly prefer the first game.
Yep.
Um, it's complicated. Like I see both sides of the story. I see how you could not like the story. I see how you could like the story. But if you could to give the game like I don't know 4 out of 10 or less, I would love to hear your opinion on why.
Yeah, I agree.
bad of the game.
I mean, personally, for me, I would give it an 8.5 to a 9 because I think it's that good. But it just wasn't just as I said, the pacing was a problem that took off one score. But other than that, I feel like I don't know, like when people complain that the game is, the mechanics aren't good, but I feel like the mechanics are meant to be that way because the game is called Last of Us Part 2. Basically, it's just to take whatever is from the first game and make it better. There's nothing supposed to be changed that much. And and off top of that, you have amazing storytelling, amazing graphics. Like you can walk around the room.
The graphics we can all
That's
agree.
amazing.
This is the most beautiful game for the last generation PS4 cycle.
But the details, right? The part when you play as Ellie going into Joel's house, you look in the mirror, you can actually see Ellie's face. It's not like some stagnant face. You can actually see her face looking sad and she's wiping her tears. And I'm just like, oh my god, that detail. I would never have thought to have done that,
I mean, I would be happy of the detail if it weren't for the stories behind, Naughty Dog's perfection. But I know. I have to bring that into account because these are people working on the game painstakingly, I might add. But at least the results did show this is a freaking. I mean, the sunset bit with at the farm, like when Joel rides out for the first time in the first 10 minutes of the game,
the
that
sunlight.
was phenomenal. Yeah.
But when you want to talk about crunch culture, I feel like a lot of game companies have that problem. I think this is something they need to work on eventually. Just to call out Naughty Dog on it is kind of unfair.
Oh no, there are other companies who do that. I mean, I'm not just Naughty Dog, but every other is like Ubisoft.
Yeah, I'm just
BioWare.
talking like about people who complain about it. Like Naughty Dog is like this, Naughty Dog is like that. Naughty Dog has employees who are severely have PTSD because they want to learn about gore. I think that's too much.
Yeah.
That one is found to be untrue. I noticed a lot of people circulating that rumor, and it was actually like Mortal Kombat developers who which makes sense. It's Mortal Kombat, and I remember that one they had the developers of Mortal Kombat 11 had to look up pictures of gore and stuff, and they went into like horrible depression and had to quit their job. But the last one is untrue. Like several Naughty Dog employees came out and said like, no, we weren't. Like we only looked at gore like when we wanted to, which is a whole other thing.
I think in terms of like cinematic storytelling games, I think this did a much better job than Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, yes, completely different stories and eras as well. But when you see the excess of Red Dead Redemption 2, a 50-hour game, by the way, at least in my experience, compared to what TLOU 2 did, at least it was. And plus, the way you control the way you control Ellie and Abby, much more flexible compared to Arthur and John Marston in the Red Dead Redemption 2. So at the very least, Naughty Dog gets top dollar for that lah. They at least remember that they're supposed to make a game, not a pretentious piece of sandbox thing.
I don't remember bashing my horse into a tree every 5 minutes. So
I know. It's true that. Rest in peace, Shimmer. You'll be missed.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's cool that we have different thoughts here and there about The Last of Us Part 2. And now, I know we're going to be speculating a little bit more, but do you see a Part 3 happening at the end of the PS5 cycle for this? Or not? I mean, bring out your own theories. Will Naughty Dog stay that same course? Or not? Based on current events. Maybe we'll start with Natasha first.
I want to see Last of Us 3, but not a Part 3, if that makes sense to you.
Like a different storyline, different characters, just in the same universe.
Yes, I would like to see that.
Something like Valkyria Chronicles. They have different stories, but at the same timeline.
Yeah, because I feel like Ellie's story has come to a close. There's no need to drag it on anymore. that's it. The end. If I want to see Ellie anymore, maybe in a DLC, something small. Just let it live already. Just let it. Just be free.
Tim?
I agree with Natasha a lot in that like I really love this world. I love this gameplay. I love the everything. Everything is so good. I would love to see more stories set in the same universe in other countries with other characters. But I also really want a part 3. I don't need it right now. I don't even need it in the next 10 years.
Actually, you might get it in the next 10 years. Who knows? Because it's a Sony. They need games. So
Yeah. I think the current events don't have anything to do with whether Naughty Dog is going to make a third game. I think if Naughty Dog went to Sony and was like, hey, we want to make a third game in, that current duology of games that have sold like 1 million copies, would that be okay with you? Sony would be like, money on the table, do it right now. I think Ellie's story could use a continuation in that, like, yes, everything came to a close in a very neat bow, but so did that story come to a close in The Last of Us 1. I think if you make this the dark second chapter in a trilogy, it could really round everything up nicely, as long as they make a third game that's actually good. But I could see a couple of ways this game could continue. Like I could see
Playing as JJ.
I hope not, because I don't want to see JJ go through the same amount of pain.
Yeah, that's what they're
The Last of Us
into,
JJ. All right.
right?
Some promise there, actually. Yeah.
I feel like in my head canon, after the game ended, Ellie went back to Jackson to live with Dina and JJ again. But from a like storytelling perspective, I would much prefer it if Ellie just struck out on her own and just went to another place to do other things. Maybe she was just too ashamed. Maybe she thought she had gone too far and couldn't face Dina again and went off in her own direction, and the game picks up much later than that, and then you meet Dina and stuff. I feel like that could be a lot of interesting drama, and I would.
Why can't you just give her a happy ending, guys?
No happy endings. Everyone dies.
What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, Daniel. Hey.
I'm gonna go on the tangent, and I'll say like, I think the better way for Naughty Dog to go is do another Lost Legacy like game, and focusing on maybe Abby and Lev during the years where Abby, during the years where Ellie was in the farm with Dina, because I would like to play that type of game because it looks interesting, because when we pick them up in the epilogue, they were already, Lev already has hair, so basically it's been a while.
Yeah,
basically. So I would like to see like what escapade they have, because I think
I agree.
their dimension, their bondness would be a good game. I think, kind of like Lost Legacy as well.
Would you guys be interested in? That's just a good idea, Daniel. But would it be interesting if there was a Last of Us Tales? So instead, in that same year when Abby and Ellie have the revenge plot thing going on, we have different stories happening around Jacksonville, or like Tim mentioned, another country. Like maybe in a couple of 10 years, like when the PS5 is doing just fine, with its games and whatnot. Do you think Last of Us stories or Last of Us Tales would make sense? Especially given the current backlash.
I want Last of Us Tales, but Joel before Last of Us Part 1. See how evil he is.
Yeah,
maybe
that
then
would be
people
nice.
Maybe then people would finally see how awful he truly was,
Yeah, that would be nice.
I want to see Tess before she died, especially.
Yes!
Yeah, as well. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I was thinking of the same like Lost Legacy style thing, because obviously it's impossible not to think of that. Like after The Last of Us, they did Left Behind. After Uncharted 4, they did Lost Legacy. So if they did a DLC for this game, I'd really love for them to go into Joel's past with Tess, dig out Tess a bit more, dig into their relationship a bit more, and the world, what it was like back then. Like I think that'd be really
I
cool.
would love to see Outbreak Day as well. They talked about that a lot in The Last of Us Part 2, That would be really cool. Come on, Naughty Dog. We're giving you your money. Do it.
Actually, that would be a good idea. Like when Sarah died in Joel's arms, all the way to that bit when you start off as Joel. Like that's a lot. That's like how many years? 3, 4 years?
Yeah, same thing. 4 years is the thing.
Okay. Then something you can actually have some cool stuff popping up there. So I don't think The Last of Us love is gonna die anytime soon, despite the hate that's been going around for this game.
I mean,
But
technically, if there's a lot of hate for it and a lot of love for it, that means the game did what it was supposed to do.
Yep.
It invoked emotion.
emotion, the emotion, especially.
I mean, technically, Naughty Dog did want everyone to feel angry, just not in this scale.
I feel bad for Neil Druckmann. He actually tweeted out that he was very exhausted.
Yeah.
I don't
I
quite
feel
feel
bad.
bad for him and the higher ups, but I do feel bad for the people working under him, because of the whole.
I feel bad for
Overwork.
Laura Bailey. Like, the actress who played Abby did such an amazing job, and she's gonna get so much. She already is getting a lot of hate from the
It's not her fault. It's like it's
Yeah,
kind of like
man.
Star Wars at this point when
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
just throw hate at the characters. Like they didn't write the story. You're getting mad at the wrong people.
Yeah, don't hate the woman who voiced Chun-Li. Come on, don't do that. But
And Lady.
yeah. But at the same time, that's really good points you bring up as well, like at the last part. So maybe let's just cap this off with maybe some final words from every one of you. We'll go with Tim first. Like, just to seal off this whole spoiler cast. Like, any final words?
I think the Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 are a really good duology as they stand. If they don't get a third part, I think they do a really good job of exemplifying all the amazing things a person can do for the sake of love and all the horrible things they can do for the sake of love. I think they did a really good job of exploring the depths of a human being, the depths a person can go to for the people they care about, especially in an apocalypse where the stakes are high. That's what I think.
All right, Daniel.
4 is Last of Us Part 2 is a bit flawed in my view, but it is still a pretty good game. I don't know, because it is not their combat and all is pretty good, but when you compare it with the story from the first game, it falters pretty badly, to be honest. But I think, as like Tim said, like it is a good combination of two games, a good series as well, because it does delve on what humans would do in a post-apocalyptic event, basically.
Sorry, Daniel, your room changed. Did you change your camera a bit? Sorry, I didn't realize.
No, I had to move. No, I
Ah.
had to move into another room there.
Oh, okay. So this is now the second. The second.
Yeah, this is the second act.
Okay, the second act. The character switched. Okay. Yes. Natasha, bring it on home. This is your final words.
Okay, so I think The Last of Us Part 2 was an amazing experience. I would recommend everyone to play it because it really shows how horrible people can be in an apocalypse, where in the world where there's no more rules, no more laws, people will come to themselves and create their own set of laws and, eventually fight over it. I can see the Scars and the Wolves kind of do that as well. And there are people who are still good, like those people in Jackson. They are very kind people as well. So it's very diverse how they want to show how the world of the apocalyptic world really is. So as for the story, I would tell everyone to play it. But, as Tim said, with warnings, I would tell people, like, if you cannot stand mentally draining games, you will get mentally taxed playing this game. So play at your own risk. Just know that playing this game is like walking through a tunnel without an end. There's no light in the end. It's none of that.
At the very least, it's a pretty looking tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
All right, well said, guys. Well said, ladies and gents. Thanks again for joining me on this wonderful Last of Us Part 2 spoilercast. That's it. All right, thanks again, guys, and see ya.